Hi, welcome. So I'll just start. I'm Donna Ritter with the Educators Consortium for Service Learning. And we're just so thrilled and we welcome you that you came to connect within this space today with our consortium and our community for some calm, some compassion, some centering and curriculum ideas, especially to carry forward meaningful service learning. We hope that sharing our conversations in the future, our needs and feelings will be shared bi-monthly on Fridays, 3 to 4 p.m. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Johnny, who is going to help commence our focusing for today's session.
Hi, everybody. Before we begin, we thought it'd be a good idea to just go through a group exercise that allows us to sort of drop in to this conversation with each other, together, not together, but together. So find a seat or some place where you can allow your spine to be long yet relaxed. Try to, in centering your head between your shoulders, find a lightness there, as though there's a string attached to the crown of your head and it's attached to a balloon and it's floating just slightly. You can close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, try to drop it into the bottom of your torso, deep in your belly, and let it out through your mouth. Again, deep breath into the nose. Try to breathe deep in the body if you can. Fill up, and slowly let it go through the mouth. Inhale deeply. Hold the breath at the top for 1, 2, 3, and slow as you can, let it out through the mouth. On your next inhale, simply allow the breath to enter your body without putting any effort into drawing it in. And when it's full, let go once again and breathe out without any effort. Allow your breath to become a wheel. As you inhale, it rises up the back of your spine. You fill up, and then as you exhale, it careens down the front of your spine, back to the base. Try not to let there be any gap in between the inhale and the exhale. Let them smoothly run into one another. On your next inhale, imagine that you're drawing light up the back of your spine, and it climbs your spine until the inhale is complete. And then as you exhale, it releases out the top of your head and falls down all around you like a fountain. And when the exhale is complete, you gather all that light once again in the bottom of your spine with the inhale, gently bringing it to the top of your head and releasing it on the exhale. Repeat this breath. One more time, in and releasing at the crown of your head, out gently. And you can open your eyes, come back into the room, and we can begin. Thank you, everybody.
Johnny, that was wonderful. I'm so grateful. I don't know about you, but my day can feel very scattered. So it's really helpful for me just to take these moments and reminders. I'd just like to give a shout out to both Donna, Johnny, and Marissa, who all put so much effort into creating this workshop and experience today. And Marissa handled all the technology, so yay. This is all new for us. It's just changing and shifting how we're learning. So I've learned a technique actually recently from my good friend Shay, who's on here, and I want to try it to just as a way to see who's in this space. So could everybody turn off your camera just for a moment? If you're not sure what that is, usually there's a space that says stop video, If you just do stop video just for a moment, I'm going to try and experience that Shay introduced me to last week, but I haven't done it before. So we're going to see who's here. So if you are a member of ECSL, the Educators Consortium for Service Learning, and you live in the Los Angeles area, could you turn your camera back on? I hope mine comes on. So now if you want to take a glance, these are all the ECSL people, and you can see who we are. Now, if you teach or you're located somewhere else in the United States, but not the LA area, could you turn your camera back on and we'll see who you are? Who are the people who can pop up? I know Julie's here from Minnesota. I'm so glad. And Carolyn's here from Ohio, so they can pop back on. Got Carolyn and Julie. I know Julie's around, so she'll pop on in a second. And now, if you're here from anywhere else in the world, we have people from Singapore, from Ghana. We have people who teach in Angola. Could you pop on and we'll know who's here from the international schools. Give us a wave if you're from international. Yay. We're so grateful that you came and that you're part of our community today. What we've learned from doing a few of these is that it's really wonderful to see everyone, and it's maybe even more wonderful to get in a small breakout room and have meaningful conversations with a few people, and then come back together and report out what we've experienced. So that's what we're going to do with Marissa's magic of dividing us into rooms. And we also, and it's in the chat room, you can see, there's a link if you like to a document, a Google Doc, that you can open up. If you can't do that easily, someone else in your group, I hope, will have it open. So for whatever room you're in, we hope that you will have someone there to take notes, so we get to gather the information we're learning from each person. So each group should have a moderator just to make sure you're moving, and also a scribe. Also, what we're hoping in this room is to give each person a good amount of time to be thought about. So in your room, each person will have a turn to have about 3 minutes to share. And we have some guiding questions here that are on the document. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And what is needed to get there? So this is in the context of your work in service learning or any other context that's meaningful for you at present. So I'll repeat those again, and they're in the chat room. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And what is needed to get you there? You'll have about 3 minutes to share and just talk and have your time to come forward. And then the group will have 2 minutes to respond to you. So you get the input from others with just response, and in any form that takes. It could be a resource, it could be an idea, it could be just, we've listened to you and we care. So you'll all find your own path through this. And so each person will have a total of about 5 minutes, and then hopefully there'll be additional time for any other group questions or things that emerge from the conversations. Then we'll come back together. Marissa, did you have any, one other thing. What we found is that once you're in your room, if one person would start, and then if they then toss it to the next person, we seem to keep moving in an easy continuum. So whoever talks first just tosses it to the next person, and that's how we roll. Marissa, are there any other pointers you want to make sure we know before we get started?
Just to mention that the link for the chat is, the link for the shared document is in the chat as well, and that I will remain in the main room in case anybody gets kicked out of a breakout room. I can help get you back in. And that's it. So
All right.
Without further ado, I'm going to open the rooms. Enjoy, everyone. See you back here.
In order to process the things that they're going through, and that there's a lot more than just their service learning that's going on in their lives right now. Let's see. There were some camera games shared, similar to the ones that you shared the other day, Kathy, actually. And does anybody else feel like I'm missing something? There's a lot that we went through from my group.
Carol, thank you. Let's hear from someone in group 2, breakout group 2. Anybody?
I don't mind summarising
Okay.
if the group don't mind.
I don't mind.
Yeah, so we were really concerned about how to ensure that our young learners are engaged and empowered in a time where they feel that they don't have a lot of control over many aspects of their learning, and particularly service learning. So I shared some of the initiatives that students had done in Singapore in terms of responding to very real authenticated needs in communities right now. For example, letters to migrant workers in dorms, sharing ways in which students can respond, setting up Instagram accounts. We've got one like mental wellness group just to keep things a little bit light and create a sense of community. Linda was mentioning we had a conversation around how to get administrative support because distance learning is often perceived as a kind of overload academically, and students are a little bit stressed. So service learning could potentially is sometimes viewed as one thing that can go, whereas ironically, this is the space in which our learners can find the most fulfillment, I think. And it's, you know, we're in a time of great need. I mean, it's like fertile ground for very authentic student action. And so we spoke about how important it was for youth to have a voice. So instead of us as educators reaching out to admin, encourage children to do that, because it's much harder to say no to them if they're sharing what matters to them, why they want to do this action. So we're going to share some examples of that student voice and persuasiveness in the group. Kathy shared really exciting projects coming out of New York City with the Youth Leadership Councils. One where developing a platform documentaire so that students can share what they're doing, share what's going on right now, what brings them joy, what actions they're taking. And we were talking about how to take this kind of globally, and the potential power of this, not only to help students feel that they're connected, they're not alone in their desire to respond to current needs, but also to kind of provide a counter, to provide individual voice and real experiences to counter some of the media noise and the blanket messaging. So, for example, in Singapore, my students will be reading about New York City in a very different way from the stories that the youth in New York will be telling them. So just to break down that single story. Unearthing ways that we can dive into these issues, how youth are doing this, to have them lead. And then Kate shared some networks for international students where people are already sharing initiatives. And we spoke about ways in which we can leverage communities and networks to help meet the ethnic studies requirement. Does that about capture it, guys? Sorry.
That's great.
Yeah.
Very thorough, Becca. Thank you. So let's find out what happened in breakout group 3. Do we have someone who will come forth and share?
When do you guys want to do it? Or okay, so I'll try to compile the really wonderful thoughts. We had a really, I felt productive, hopefully you guys feel productive call too. So there's the age-old issues that we're all dealing with, which is the overload of those that are, you know, like Barb, who's having she's wearing 2 hats, teacher and service learning coordinator, and the pressures of that as it translates into this new age life where you're still doing all these things. And so it's even more burdensome. And the feelings of frustration with that. There's the traditional problems. Renee was talking about how at her school, academics is is sacred and service learning is low on the totem pole. And one of her goals and where she wants to get to is having the school think of them as more equally, and having service learning be recognized that it's so critical for social and emotional well-being for students and affecting change, in our lives and our planets. And that, her outtake was that you need to have some patience and have skillful conversations, nudging these concepts forward, and just continues shining the spotlight on service learning. The crux of it really came down to Nina, who was saying that we really are in a mental health crisis right now, whether we recognize it or not. And the fallout when things do somewhat come back to normal, and no one knows the future, we talked about that, will be an ebb and flow of where everybody is balanced and standing. And she says that they are really making, or she, an effort to pull back expectations. We can't be everything to everybody at every time now. And whether expectations are, husbands, family, children at home, and meals, and elderly parents, and then your school. And in Nina's case, she's responsible to faculty, administration, and just a whole bunch of groups that's serving so many needs. And then Caroline just so eloquently and passionately and beautifully just said that we all need to celebrate where we are, that we're doing an awesome job. Whatever we're doing now is absolutely awesome. I mean, being here today, this is a precious hour in your guys' lives, and it's so sacred and so wonderful. So she says, celebrate where you are. And while you're doing that, keep dreaming big. And I think that was one of the big takeaways from that. It's such a simple concept. And I think it's sort of what we all need right now a little bit. Let's celebrate and take a deep breath, as Johnny had us do in the beginning, just to accept that we are continuing to move things forward, and we're doing the best we can in the circumstances, and we are doing things, but never lose sight of what the goals are. And just as a little note to that, what she's doing is amazing. She's head of this nonprofit that raises funds that students then donate, students then assess and make small grants to over 115 programs in her state. She says 80 of them will be completed this semester, which is just staggering. And more students, now that they're home, are learning about it and wanting to be involved in it. And critical for those of us from ECSL, because we always try to include our local nonprofits in our workshops. And we've had even workshops trying to teach the nonprofits how to make their time with students meaningful. And Caroline was saying that as part of her role, they meet with these nonprofits and talk about the benefits that the students getting and that they're getting, and they're counseling and working together to make sure that these are really rich experiences. So personally for me, that was like a real great takeaway. Anybody else? Did I miss things you want to add? Add any ideas, thoughts?
Yeah. I would just like to add that I had the pleasure of watching the Google Doc go live from all three of the breakout sessions. And I think for me, just the biggest one word, if I could put it in one word, I would say shifting. We're all figuring out ways to shift, which is kind of similar to what Caroline had said in her session. And I want to encourage everybody to look over the entire Google Doc if you have an opportunity, because you might see a resource on there or a person on there that you can reach out to that has some specific help in a similar area of focus. So you're encouraged to add your email to your name, because then people can make personal connections if they see something that they want to follow up with on. So if you have an opportunity to do that before you leave today, add your email, that would be great.
And I just want to add my thank you for the openness and the clarity people were talking about and wanted to assist each other so quickly. People were very much wanting to be part of each other's story. And I think that was really quite wonderful and made this hour very valuable. So thank you. Donna, do you have any last words before we pass it to
Yeah,
Jen?
I just want to add, if you want to send a quick email or whatever your thoughts. So we're intending to have these conversations bi-weekly, with the next one being May 15th. That way we can keep growing the thoughts and progressing and seeing where things are moving. So if that's of interest, we want to be able to reach out and connect. That's what we're providing here. So if you have any thoughts on timing, if this is a good time, and also if you can just shoot me an email if you'd like to join in again the next time, if this was effective time for you, it helps for us to know so that we can plan effectively. So that's meaningful. A huge thank you to you all. And with that, I'm going to toss to Johnny to help us close.
So I know we've been doing a lot of sitting these days and just over the last hour. So to close out, we're just going to try to move our bodies a little bit. If you want to do it standing up, then that's fantastic. And whose screen is sharing? And
Whoever's doing screen sharing might want to stop doing that.
It looks
and
like
if you want to do it sitting down, you can do it sitting down as well.
Linda, I think it was you.
Oh, okay, let's see. I've got this thing that says back to meeting, but that's,
Yes, go back to meeting.
it won't do it. I mean, it won't let me go anywhere. Although I see all of you, strangely enough.
let me see if there's a way I can.
Can you deactivate, or I don't know what, like I'm seeing both.
The host of the meeting should be able to override and
There we
take
go.
back control.
There.
Thank
Yes,
you.
now we're back. Thank you.
Okay, so with our final minute, we're gonna inhale our hands over our heads. Exhale, just bring the hands down in front of you at heart center. Inhale the hands overhead once again, and this time look up to the hands, let them fall apart gently and down to your sides, letting your shoulders roll back and down, and maybe even bring your elbows towards one another just a little bit as you do a little mini back bend. And then inhale, hands high once again. Bring them in front of you and try to bring your elbows to touch one another like this. And you bring your elbows high as you drop your chin to your chest. If that's too much on your scapula, you can give yourself a hug and drop your chin to your chest. And then inhale, spread the arms once again, just to either side like a T, and roll out the wrists on both sides and switch directions. Inhale once again overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Give a little bow of the head. Let the back of your neck totally relax. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate the participation and the energy. It was really fun to see everyone.
And please put your name, put your email on the document. That would be really helpful for us to make sure we can recontact with everyone. And to all my friends who came from around the world, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you making the extra effort with all the different time zones. It meant a great deal to see you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Hope to see you in a couple
you.
weeks.
See you next
Bye, all.
time.
Stay safe. Stay
Thanks.
healthy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. It was great to talk.
Okay.
Here we are.
You might want to unrecord. Stop recording. Bye recording.